Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to step onto the ice for some biscuits and penalties. I am your starting goaltender, Cobra, and I am joined once again by Alex. Say hello, Alex.
Hello.
All right. The Stanley Cup final is in full swing. It is currently tied 1-1. It has been an overtime slugfest, Alex. Edmonton won the first game in overtime. Florida won the second game in double overtime. It has been a huge slugfest. You gotta love it. I love the Stanley Cup final. You know, no matter who is playing, the Stanley Cup final is always exciting and energetic. This is what these teams fight for. Lord Stanley's Cup.
Definitely agree with you on that one, Cobra. This is by far one of the most entertaining series I've found in a long time. Obviously, who knows how many overtimes we'll have left in this series, because we've had 3 overtimes so far in the past 2 games, and both teams are not going down out of fights. And both goalies are having their fair share of tough saves and amazing saves and tough moments. But I'm definitely excited to see what happens in Game 3.
Yep. I was also about to add, so far, this has been a long series. They have played 3 games despite only 2 being on the schedule, if that makes sense. They have played a total of 9 straight periods. But that is not the longest playoff overtime, ever in NHL history, because that was in 1994 between the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres, with 2 Hall of Fame goaltenders in net, Dominic Hasek and Martin Brodeur. It was a 1-0 in 4 overtimes. Dominic Hasek put in a 70 save performance that night. Just wanted to give a little fun fact to our audience there. But before we make our final prediction, I just want to thank our listeners for sticking it with us. If you have been listening with us, once again, thank you. This is our final biscuits and penalties of the season. We are going into hibernation for a while. We will return later on this year. We're excited to be back into your homes later on. But before we make our final prediction on the Stanley Cup, we need to talk about the ones that did not make it to have the opportunity to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. We need to talk about the teams that were eliminated and how they can improve their odds to make it to further in the Stanley Cup final, to get a chance to lift that 30-pound hunk of silver that is Lord Stanley's Cup. All right, and we are going to start with the biggest underdog this season. We're going to start with the Ottawa Senators. And Alex, once again, since you are my co-host, I want to hear your opinion. Obvious statement is obvious. What will Ottawa need to do to improve their odds?
In my honest opinion, it's the goaltending for the Ottawa Senators. They had a young, fast-moving offense this year that threw the puck at the net of the Maple Leafs goalie, but the Maple Leafs were too much for them, and I think that was because of the goaltending in the Ottawa Nets. It was not that good against them. They lost in 6 games, a very winnable series in Senators, but that goalie play was questionable in most of those games. The defense was doing its job to hold back the Maple Leafs, because obviously we talked about the downfall of the Austin Matthews and the big four over there in Toronto, but that doesn't matter because the Senators had a bad goalie play, and if they fix that, then I think they'll be good to go for next year, going back into playoffs.
I disagree with you, Alex. Linus Ullmark is a great goaltender. He just didn't have any help in front of him with his defense. I'm gonna say that Ottawa needs to improve their defensive touch and clear the garbage out of the net so that Ullmark can make a save. That's the best way I can say it. The defense needs to get better for Ottawa so that Linus Ullmark can make a save. If Ottawa does get goaltending, they need backup goaltending because Linus Ullmark is a true starter. He was a Vezina candidate. I think he won the Vezina with Boston. So I disagree with that. That he is a bad goaltender. But moving on, we are going. Next is Tampa Bay. We're going to start with the East and the West. Tampa Bay. What do they need to improve?
If you look at the series, we saw it last year. Florida and Tampa Bay were neck and neck in the series last year, and a year later, it was no different, but it was one-sided. The Panthers outshot the Tampa Bay Lightning in the entire series and put pucks past Vasilevsky like he was paper mache in that net. And that is occurs to the Lightning's lackluster defense that was not stopping the Panthers getting that puck in the net. Vasilevsky is a great goalie. He made some crazy saves in that series, but he cannot do everything on the defense side of the puck. So give me the defensive improvement of the Lightning because they were terrible blocking shots. Granted, they could have been better on offense, scoring goals because they scored 2 to 3 goals in every game and got blown out by 4 or 5 scores. But it's Vasilevsky doing it by himself, and he can't do it. So defense needs to be improved for Tampa to go further next year.
I kind of agree with you, and I kind of don't. Because what I think they need to do to improve is unfortunately a fight that all of us deal with, and that is the fight with Father Time. And that is why I say Tampa Bay needs to get younger. They need youth. They need a little bit more youth. Because I believe that's the main reason why Vasilevsky looked like Swiss cheese in net, is because fatigue set in with a lot of the older players in Tampa. All right, next, Montreal. Alex?
This Montreal team had high hopes. Another semi-young team in the playoffs. They were going into the series against the Capitals, fighting for their lives at the end of the season. And it's no credit to anything going on because the team played well. But in my honest opinion, I think it was the offensive woes that made the Canadians struggle late in the season to try to fend off the Rangers to jump over and make the playoffs at the end of the year. They struggled late and they struggled so much that they were being rushed on offense. And I think they need to fix their offensive firepower because the defense worked well, the goalie was well. It's the offense that was not playing as well, and I think that's what the Canadians need to work on.
All right. As for me, I think what Montreal needs to improve is nothing. I think they need to use this as a learning experience. So I'm gonna say my way they improve their odds is learn from experience. Learn from this experience, getting eliminated in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Use it because I think a lot of their core, a lot of their offense is there, especially with Nick Suzuki. But they need to take what they have learned from this series that eliminated them and improve. And improve and learn from the past. That is what they do. I think that is a better way to improve their odds than adding more offensive weapons. I think they have the firepower. All right, New Jersey.
Entering the season, nobody was telling me that the Devils were going to make the playoffs this year. The young team that they have and the young defense that they had was making me concerned about them. But they proved me wrong and they got it. Now, this team has had a lot of big players. Jack Hughes is the biggest player on that team. I think he's on the offense side of the puck, if I remember correctly. And they all said it's a learning experience. It's a young team. I don't think they need to change nothing. I think the Devils are good where they are now. They just are a young team. They haven't been to playoffs in a long time. This is the first time in forever for them. And this is a learning experience. And I think they need to do nothing to change because they were in a good spot this year.
Interesting. So this is your learn from experience team, following my lead. As for me, I think there's an easy fix. They need to fix what's in the pipes. I think they need to improve their goaltending. And I gotta say it, there is a goaltender that is going to be on the market that is demanding a trade. I think that the New Jersey Devils need to go after Elvis Merzlikins from Columbus. He wants out of Columbus, not because he hates Columbus, but because he is having PTSD being in Columbus with that cannon. He needs to get out of Columbus fast. So I think the Devils need to go after Elvis Merzlikins. All right, now from the east to the west, St. Louis.
St. Louis Blues did something that I never thought I was going to see again. They looked like 2019 Blues all over again. Joey Binghamton was playing amazing. The offense was moving. The defense was blocking shots. And they took the Jets to the limit. And they were just off. And I think it's because of the defense of the Blues. Yes, the defense was good this year. But if some of those games were skewed the way the defense was better, I think the Blues would have advanced in the playoffs against the Jets instead of losing in 7. So I want to tweak at the defense that we can get the Blues back into top contenders fighting in.
I agree with you, Alex. Finally, we agree on something here. St. Louis needs to improve their defense, and primarily, they need to get smarter. They have the grit, they have the sandpaper, but they just need to get a little bit smarter on defense. Too many stupid penalties in the playoffs. Not clearing the garbage out away from the net for Binnington to make the save. You got to get smarter on defense. Other than that, St. Louis doesn't need to prove much. Just get smarter on defense. All right, next, Colorado.
Don't get me wrong. The Avalanche were a great team this year. They proved me wrong after the trade deadline. I thought they were going to lose Mikko Rantanen to the Stars, and they were going to tank and not make the playoffs. They did not. I do think this is the curse of Mikko Rantanen for going to the Dallas Stars and beating them in 7. With that being said, they need to upgrade that offense. You lose your best player in a trade because you couldn't re-sign him, and now you have multiple trophy-winning team players on that team, like Nathan McKinnon, and et cetera, et cetera. The offense needs to be tweaked, and they need to go out and get a star-studded player in the free agency to solidify the Mikko Rantanen replacement so they can go back out there and beat the Stars if they do see them again in the first round.
You're kind of right there, Alex. They need to improve their offense, absolutely. But the main thing they got to improve is they got to get younger. They got to get younger on offense. That's what they've got to do. They don't just need any type of firepower. They need younger firepower. The Avalanche are getting older. McKinnon can't hang on too long. It's only going to be a matter of time before he breaks down again. So the Colorado Avalanche need to get younger. All right, the LA Kings.
The LA Kings are an interesting team. Coming into the season, I was looking at them of not making the playoffs.
Hold up, Alex. No, this answer is too easy. You're trying to overcomplicate an easy answer. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for me, the easy answer is coaching. Get rid of that coach. If they didn't do that stupid challenge, they would probably be in round 3. Get rid of that coach. That coach was terrible. That's an easy answer for me.
I can agree with that, but coaching can't be every problem. Coaching is a problem for a lot of teams. The Stars just fired their coach after being, beat by the Oilers, and he has been a bad coach in the Stars this whole time. The Kings' problem is defense. Dustin Kemper can't do everything in that net. Dustin Kemper is a Stanley Cup winning goalie in Colorado, and he knows what he's doing in net. That defense was poor and lackluster with bad
He's
coaching.
also getting older too. Darcy Kemper's also getting older too.
Older too, so either a younger goalie or a younger and better defense, and I think the Kings are in a good spot.
All right, defense, younger goalie. That could also be a landing spot for Elvis Merzlikins too.
Okay.
All right, Minnesota.
I did like the Wild going into this season. The Vegas Golden Knights were just too much for, Mark Andrew in net in his send-off final season. So either they go after a younger, talented goalie to replace the retiring Fleury, or bulk up that defense because that offense is great. Yeah, Kaprizov, they got Foligno over there. The defense needs to be bulked up to have in front of the net for a young goalie that's probably going to be inexperienced. If they don't go out and sign one that's in his young, the young 30s or maybe in his young 20s, which is probably impossible. So I think the Wild need to go younger goalie or a stronger defense to get back to this spot again next year.
With the Minnesota Wild, their goaltending issue, I think they could solve that easily by using an AHL call up. I think that would be the easy fix anyway, is to trust their own system. They have some cap space. They have cap space freed up with the Parise and Suter contracts finally lapsing, so they now have some cap space. I think they need some offensive firepower, and in my opinion, if they need any offensive firepower, there is a struggling player in Anaheim who could definitely use a change of scenery, and his name is Trevor Zegras. So I think that's what Minnesota does with their freed up cap space. Go after Trevor Zegras. All right. Now, before we break down this team, what we think they need, first off, we're already laughing at them still to this day, the Toronto Maple Leafs. But what they need to do, they've already started the rebuilding phase. Brendan Shanahan is gone. The Shanahan plan is over. They've already said that they are going to break up the core four that they have with John Tavares, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, and Austin Matthews. They're not going to stay as a core four any longer, just because their contracts are so bloated. So now that is the very interesting question, primarily because of the core four. This is where it gets a little different. Since Toronto's already done the right decision of blowing it up, who do they keep? And who do they keep so they can start building this team right?
That is an interesting question, and I have one major answer to that. Keep Mitch Marner. Get rid of Matthews. Get rid of William Nylander. I think Mitch Marner is the best out of the core four in Toronto. Matthews imploded in the playoffs, and Nylander is a great player, don't get me wrong. But he was struggling in the series against Ottawa and against Florida. Nylander was struggling. I think Marner is the strongest competitor out of the core four. Matthews is what? 36, 37 years old. He's getting up there to retirement age. And keeping him on a contract until he's almost 40 is ridiculous and should never happen. So I want them to keep Mitch Marner and get rid of Nylander and get rid of Austin Matthews.
Keep Marner. Okay. I'm going to disagree with that one. because I think how they start the rebuilding process is they keep John Tavares. And let me explain. John Tavares is the only one of those core four that have expressed I want to stay here. All the other three have basically given vague answers, if that makes sense. Mitch Marner has pretty much said without saying it, get me the hell out of here. Austin Matthews, second verse, same as the first. William Nylander, he's getting frustrated with all this. But John Tavares, is the one who, has more who is like, keep me. So if I were the Maple Leafs, that would be my main focus. Okay, what can we do to keep you here? We're gonna get rid of Nylander, Marner, and Matthews. We want to keep you. What do we do to keep you? We're not going to give you exorbitance, but we're gonna want to keep you. That is what the Maple Leafs do. That's probably what they do. So, all right. Washington.
Oh, interesting. As a Capitals fan, I've watched the team for 9 years be missing the playoffs, getting eliminated year in and year out, and I've had hope this year. Ovechkin was playing amazing. Both the record, the offense was playing well, defense playing well. I think the one issue we had mostly of all in this playoffs was goaltending. Logan Thompson and our other goalie, they both struggled immensely in that series against the Hurricanes and against the Canadiens. And I think we had a better goalie in between the pipes. We were going to go deep in the playoffs this year. Both sides of the puck looked pretty well. I was proud that we were, fast-paced moving offense, hard-hitting defense, and we were motivated. And then we fell apart against the Hurricanes because we got soft. We let the foot off the gas and we got exposed. And that's because the goalie was bad. The goalie play was horrible in the pipes. So for the love of God, Capitals, get a better goalie because we do not need two goalies that refuse to actually play well. Because I don't want to die seeing one Stanley Cup come to Washington. So give me a better goalie in Washington.
Well, Alex, I hate to disagree with you on this one, but I think there's a better option here for the Capitals, and that is prepare the future. It's time to start finding a new superstar in Washington other than Tom Wilson and Alex Ovechkin. Ovechkin has stated this is going to be his last year next year. So it's time to start finding that next superstar. So that is what I'm going to say is what Washington needs to do, and that is prepare the future. Because if Washington stands pat, like I don't think they're going to do, but if they stand pat, well then pretty much get used to polishing them. Get used to the sight of polishing them golf clubs because that's all they're going to be doing, Capitals. All right, Las Vegas.
Las Vegas was on the back of the goalie play. The goalie play was phenomenal for Vegas. I mean, they didn't get to the second round. They lost in 5 because McDavid is McDavid. But what the big struggle was with the Vegas Golden Knights was the defense in front of the net. If you take those games that they lost to the Oilers and flip it on its head and have better defensive play, the Knights are going to win that series in probably 6 or 7 games. But the fact that they had a good goalie in between the pipes and a lackluster defense with an offense that was trying to put pucks in the nets and the defense just wasn't there. So I think they need to rework the defense, tweak a little bit of stuff, and I think the Knights will be in a good position next year.
I think you're on the right path, but I think there's one player that they probably should get rid of and replace, and they need to replace Alex Pietrangelo. he struggled against he struggled all the whole playoffs apparently, which is rare for Pietrangelo. Normally he's a warrior, but Pietrangelo did not do well in the playoffs. It was not great. I think his better years are behind him. But yeah, that's what I think Vegas should do. All right, Winnipeg.
Oh, Winnipeg Jets were a very interesting team this year. They had the Vezina Trophy winner goalie, and I think the Vezina Trophy curse is real and it's still going to happen. In the President's Trophy 1 or 2, the curses are real and it's going to be cursing everything that wins it. But regardless of conspiracy theories or not, the Winnipeg Jets had a very heavy heart season this year, with everything that happened with Johnny Gaudreau, the Gaudreau brothers. Oh,
No, it wasn't Gaudreau. It wasn't Gaudreau. That was Calgary and Columbus.
Oh yeah, my bad. Then Mark Sheffley.
Mike Scheifele, yeah, it was Mark Scheifele losing his father.
Yeah, it seems like when bad things happen, the team just implodes, and it happened. Mark Sheffley lost his dad right before the game he played. They lost. Now I'm not sure if that is, it should happen, but the defense was not that good for the Jets. Connor Hellebuyck did what he could, but that defense was not helping him at all. There were rebounds that were scored against Hellebuyck that he couldn't save because the defense wasn't there. So I want them to improve the defense because Connor Hellebuyck is in his late 30s now.
Yeah.
So he's going to be aging too. So the defense needs to fix it, or else Hellebuyck is going to, fall off a cliff next year as the reigning Vezina Trophy winner because the defense sucks.
Well, Al, you're kind of there, Alex. What I think is going to happen is prepare for pain. That's the best way I can say it, because I think this was the Winnipeg Jets' only shot they had to get this far. I think they don't make the Stanley Cup final next year. That is a bold, hot take. But that's what I think, and that is that the Winnipeg Jets will not make the Stanley Cup playoffs, being knocked out by the Calgary Flames.
Wow, hot take early.
Hot take indeed. All right, now the final two teams before we get to the Stanley Cup final. Dallas.
Dallas's main issue this year was the defense. Jake Oettinger is a star-studded goalie. He has done what he's done because of the offense he has. But the defense of the Nets struggled against the Jets. They struggled against the Oilers. They struggled all the Western Conference series, and it showed. They should have lost to the Avalanche in the first round. But just Jake Oettinger knows what he's doing, and the offense knows what they're doing. They escaped in 7 games. They mold that defense in front of Oettinger. I think the Stars is going far because I do believe Jake Oettinger deserves a Stanley Cup, and the Stars had their chance. Now they need a younger head coach because they just fired Patrick DeBoer.
Peter DeBoer, not Patrick DeBoer. Peter DeBoer.
Peter DeBoer, they just fired him 2 days ago. So they need a younger head coach that knows how to build a defense. And then I could see the Stars looking to be in top 10 contenders next year.
Well, I wrote this a while ago before we got started, but Dallas needed to fire Peter DeBoer, and turns out they got it. They read my mind, and so that is what I think Dallas does, and that's how they get far, is just fire Peter DeBoer. All right, and finally, Raleigh. Alex, Carolina Hurricanes.
Looking at this team, you would tell me a year from now, oh, they're going deep in the playoffs. They took care of the Devils. They beat the Capitals in 5 games. They got, they lost the Panthers in the Eastern Conference Final game because it's what they do. They lost, 14 straight games in the Eastern Conference Final game before winning one. So it's still cursing the playoffs. So their offense needs to be reworked. I like their defense. I like the goalie in between the pipes.
And of course, their coaching is great with Rod Brindamore.
Oh, yeah. So if they just fix the offense, keep it a little younger, maybe tweak the defense a tad bit. I can see the Hurricanes going far, and they had the pieces this year. But the
Yeah.
Panthers stopped them because their defense and the offense weren't coincided with each other.
Yep. Well, you touched on it. You touched on my point a little bit earlier, Alex. Because you did. You said it. My key to improving their odds: get younger. Get younger on offense. Get younger on defense. You're already younger in the pipes with Pyotr Kochetkov. And Freddie Anderson's in net to mentor him. So it's not like they don't have the pieces. They just need to get younger, so they can keep up with Florida, keep up with the higher powered teams. Because seriously, that's what's kicking their ass. Is they're losing speed against these high powered teams.
I definitely agree. And the Panthers team is aging a tad bit. Sam Reinhart
Yeah,
is aging. Matthew Tkachuk is aging. But the Panthers,
Bobrovsky's aging.
Bobrovsky, I think, is aging too.
Yep. But anyhow, speaking of the Florida Panthers, let's do it. Let's make a prediction. Both teams already have claimed a game. How far does this series go, and who's taking it?
I'm going to throw fire into this for prediction. I'm going with the Oilers in 7 games. This team has looked on fire in the first 2 games. Connor McDavid is flying me down the ice in skates about almost 30 miles an hour. Panthers cannot stop this man. Little Drysdale is amazing.
I disagree.
Stuart
I
Skinner.
disagree. But
Stuart
I'll
Skinner.
let you finish. I'll let you finish.
Stuart Skinner's great in net. They need to keep him in net because if they go back to the other goalie, they're going to lose this series. But I do like the coaching. I do like this team. And I think they continue to do what they've done in Game 3. We're going to look at a Canadian team hosting the Stanley Cup for the first time in 20 plus years?
20 no, 30 years. 30 years.
30?
Yeah. Yeah, because the last time a Canadian team hoisted the Stanley Cup was 1993.
And it was the Canadians.
Canadians, yeah, against Wayne Gretzky's Kings. But the reason, but I will say this: I disagree because I'm going to say this goes 6 games. I am saying the Florida Panthers win in 6.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know who Edmonton's backup is because it's definitely not Calvin Pickard. He got injured. That's the reason why Stuart Skinner came back in net, was because Calvin Pickard was playing well, then got injured. And then Stuart Skinner finally realized his potential. But I think the clock will strike midnight and the coach will turn into a pumpkin. And the Cinderella story for Stuart Skinner is over in the Stanley Cup final. He loses in 6 games. And
Wow.
it'll be a crushing overtime loss by the eventual Conn Smythe winner, Sam Bennett.
My main question is how many overtimes are we going to get in this series to determine who left the cup final?
I think we're getting 2 more. I think we're going to get 2. What about you, Alex? What do you think?
I think we're going to get score because apparently the Panthers are kryptonite to
You're saying
31.
we're gonna get 4 more overtimes. Every single game is going to overtime.
Because if you look at the series, the Oilers tied it in game 1 with 31 seconds left to win in overtime. Oh, actually, won in overtime in 31 seconds. Game 2, they tied it with 31 seconds left. This Panthers team is kryptonite to 31 seconds. The Oilers capitalize on 31 seconds because they seem to score when there's under 40 seconds left to force overtime or to win in overtime.
Right. Wow. Okay. So that is our last take for Biscuits and Penalties, because we'll wrap this up thanks to our affiliate, Duke Cannon Supply Company. Father's Day is approaching. Why don't you give him a good old shot in a brew? Because they have Buffalo Trace in a big brick of bourbon soap. After all, it is with a $30 order, it is free. So why don't you grab your dad the gift of smelling great? After all, you don't want your pops to smell like boiling ass, because a lot of those soaps quit. And after all, and Duke Cannon not just do big ass bricks of soap. They do body wash, they do shampoo, they do proper colognes. They have beard oils, beard balms, everything that your man needs. And of course, because Duke Cannon is veteran owned, and proceeds do go to veterans charities. So, if you want to know why we here at Biscuits and Penalties love to use Duke Cannon Supply Company, use our link in the bio wherever you get your podcasts. Show the channel some love, Duke Cannon. Like I said, that is it for Biscuits and Penalties. But we aren't done podcasting. We have other podcast shows that we join as well. The Hard Count, the Dirt and Turf podcast, the Lat Down, Passing the Pigskin, and the Social Slam podcast. We definitely have those podcasts getting ready to get started. 2 of them are already underway. So you can definitely hear us on that. We are on Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. And when the Stanley Cup final is over, we will definitely give our congratulations on TikTok, so you can definitely see us actually give our congratulations to the Stanley Cup final champion. We do want to thank you, the listeners, our favorite sports fans, for giving us the opportunity to be in your home, in your ears, in your car, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you for welcoming us into your home. But of course, as you know, I'm Cobra, and Alex, the Zamboni's coming for the final time. So we got to step off the ice. See you next time.